Chapter 7, Frameworks. In this chapter, we will discuss frameworks and theories and their associated terms. As you can see on this slide, the definition of framework is an abstract logical structure or meaning that guides the development of the study and enables the reader to link the findings to the body of knowledge in nursing. The key word here is abstract. Remember, abstract means like an idea. It's something that is not concrete. Some terms that are related to this theoretical ideas are concept, constructs, relational statements, and conceptual models. A concept is a term that is abstract and describes and names an object or a phenomenon or an idea. The book uses the example of anxiety. A construct is actually a higher level of abstraction of a concept. And the example that your book uses is emotional stress would be the construct of anxiety. Of course, relational statement means there's a relationship of some kind and that it exists between two or more concepts. The conceptual model, or also known as the grand theory model, is a set of highly abstract related constructs. The conceptual model broadly explains phenomena of interest, expresses assumption, and reflects a philosophical stance. Theory is an integrated set of defined concepts, existence statements, and relational statements that can be used to describe, explain, predict, or control the phenomenon. Again, the existence statements within a theory declare that a given concept exists or that a given relationship occurs. Scientific theories are theories for which repeated studies have validated the relationship among the concepts. There are few nursing and psychosocial theories that have been validated to this extent. However, there are physiological theories that have this level of evidence and can provide a strong basis for nursing studies. Remember, it is the statements of a theory that are tested through the research, not the theory itself. Middle range theories are less abstract than grand theories, and they apply to practice and focus on explanation and implementation. Middle range theories may emerge from grand theories or may be developed inductively from research findings. Grounded theory studies are a scientific source of middle range theories. A conceptual map is a diagram that summarizes and integrates what we know about a phenomenon more succinctly and clearly than a literary explanation. A research framework should be supported by references from the literature. Mapping can also identify gaps in the logic of a theory being used as a framework and reveals inconsistencies, incompleteness, and errors. As we said previously, concepts are often described as the building blocks of theory. However, to make a concept more concrete, you can identify how the concept can be measured or observed. And these measurable terms are referred to as variables. A variable is more specific than a concept, implies that the term is clearly defined and measurable. The word variable in itself implies that the numerical values associated with the term vary from one instance to another. This diagram shows a link among constructs, concepts, and variables. You can see the construct, concept, and variable listed in the first column. A conceptual definition is more comprehensive than the Webster's Dictionary. The book uses the example of a fireplace, and you can find this on page 118. The conceptual definition can be established through a concept synthesis, concept derivation, and concept analysis. Your book, on page 118 in your book, there is a good example of concept synthesis in the example of Lee and Coakley's concept synthesis of geropalliative care. A concept derivation occurs when the researcher or theorist finds no concept in nursing to explain a phenomenon. The concepts identified in theories of other disciplines may provide insight. In concept derivation, one concept is transposed from one field of knowledge to another. A concept analysis identifies a set of characteristics essential to the connotative meaning of a concept. A good example of this is also found in your book, and they look at frailty. If you look at the bottom of page 119, under the bold letters that says importance of a conceptual definition, it will give you the example of a concept analysis. Relational statements describe the direction, shape, strength, symmetry, sequencing, probability of occurrence, necessity, and sufficiency of a relationship. These statements may be expressed in words, as in a sentence, or what we call the literary form, as shapes, which is the diagram form, or equations, which is the mathematical form. This slide gives you an example of how one simple statement is demonstrated in all three forms. The literary form says social support and spirituality influence coping. In the diagram form, you can see social support and spirituality listed in the blocks with the broken arrows leading toward coping. In the mathematical form, you can see that social support times strength of relationship between social support and coping plus spirituality times strength of relationship between spirituality and coping equals measurement of coping. The direction of a relationship may be positive, negative, or unknown. A positive linear relationship implies that as one concept changes, the value or amount of the concept increases or decreases, depending on the way that the first concept changes. The second concept will also change in the same direction. So in a positive linear relationship, the changes move in the same direction. In a negative linear relationship, implies that as one concept changes, the other concept changes in the opposite direction. So in a negative linear relationship, when one concept changes, the other concept goes in the other direction. The strength is the amount of variation explained by the relationship. The effect size explains how much effect a variation in one concept has on the variation in a second concept. The researcher usually determines the strength of the relationship between concepts by correlational analysis. The mathematical result of the analysis is a correlation coefficient such as R equals 0.42. The statistic R is the coefficient obtained by performing the statistical procedure known as Pearson's product moment correlation. And we will discuss the Pearson product moment correlation in the future in the semester. Relationships may be symmetrical or asymmetrical. In an asymmetrical relationship, if one concept changes, then the second concept will change. However, there may be no indication that if the second concept changes, the first concept will change. It's like a one-way street. In a symmetrical relationship, if concept 1 changes, concept B will change. And if concept B changes, if concept 1 changes, then concept 2 will change. If concept 2 changes, then concept 1 will change. It's like a two-way street. Sequencing is the amount of time that elapses between one concept and another, and is stated as the sequential nature of a relationship. For example, if we conducted a study and found that students entering an MSN program became stressed a month after they entered the program, the relationship between the MSN program and the stress would be sequential because the stress came later. If the study revealed that the students became stressed on the first day of class, then the relationship would be concurrent because they occurred at the same time. A relationship can be deterministic or probabilistic depending on the degree of certainty that it will occur. Causal relationships statements of what always occur in a particular situation. If A, then always B. A probability statement expresses the probability, which is the P statement, that something will happen in a given situation. A necessity relationship means that there is a necessary relationship. One concept must occur for the second concept to occur. If it's a substitutable relationship, a similar concept can be substituted for the first concept and the second concept will still occur. Sufficient relationship is when the first concept occurs, the second concept will occur regardless of the presence or absence of other factors. A contingent relationship will occur only if a third concept is present. In your book on page 123, there are some good examples and explanations of these relationships. Statements about the same two conceptual ideas can be made at various levels of abstractness. The statements found in conceptual models and grand theories are at a high level of abstractness. This is a table and with some examples of grand theories. Middle range theories are at a moderate level of abstractness. Just as anything we do in nursing, we must evaluate theories to determine their maturity, applicability for practice, and usefulness for research. When appraising theories and research frameworks, there are some questions that must be asked. The following 3 slides address these questions. There are 3 basic approaches to beginning the process of constructing a study framework: identifying an existing theory, synthesizing a framework, and proposing a framework from clinical practice. This slide has a table of potential theories for different research topics. Developing a theory or framework from research findings is the most accepted strategy of theory development. In developing a research framework, you will combine all 3 approaches to get the best explanation of reality, or a tentative theory. Tentative theories are those that are developed from other theories, research findings, and clinical practice, and that as of yet do not have new evidence to support their relational statements. Once you have conceptually defined the concepts that relate to the idea under study and decided how these are related and developed statements about the relationships, then you need to try to find the conceptual construct level, the variables, the operational definitions, and the operational definitions that link the framework to reality. In other words, what is really being studied. A conceptual map is a visual representation of a research framework. With the concepts defined and the relational statements diagrammed, you are ready to visually represent the framework for your study. This slide is an example of a conceptual map. For key points from Chapter 7, please refer to your book on page 134 and 135.